I'm Barbara Heinzen. I live on the boundary of Queens and New Baltimore, and I've been following the development of the Port of Queens for some time, as well as the offshore wind proposals, as many of you know. Question for Mr. O'Connor. You said that a 50 megawatt substation went into Saratoga, and you have a 50 megawatt Saratoga semiconductor plant up there. Is that right?
I don't think I said 50 megawatt substation went there, but I'm sure it was something at least that, if not more.
Right, but it supported a semiconductor operation. Can you tell me how many acres were needed for that semiconductor operation?
I really can't. I don't know. Katie, do you know how many? It's a lot.
The site, and
probably
the site itself is that Global Foundries owns is, I think, at least 1,000 acres.
1,000 acres.
Correct. Yeah. But
right.
That site was large enough for a semiconductor fab. So the project has to fit the site. And so that site.
I accept that.
Right. So
well, I think that, thank you. That's very, very helpful.
Thank you.
Because as you described it, Katie, we put in the electricity, and in effect, it's the bait to get the fish to come and bite and bring manufacturing to the town. Is that right? That's that, because at the moment, there's no wind project to support.
Electricity, power and electricity is a necessary precursor for
It's a necessary precursor, but it has to be supporting some kind of project and manufacturing project. You've also said that this power line will dead end at the Port of Queens. Is that right?
As it's proposed right now, it will go to a substation at the Port of Queens.
Right. And so you'll have 50 megawatts of power at the Port of Queens to support manufacturing from there.
It will be
it becomes a central distribution point.
It's a Central Hudson-owned substation. Yes.
But it's at the Port of Queens, yes. And presumably it would be supporting manufacturing within that footprint of the Port of Queens. Is that right? And in that locality,
yeah.
Because it's a dead-end substation. So in an application that you signed, Mr. O'Connor, you also said in December 2023 that in addition to the Port of Queens, which is about 120 acres, there's a surrounding area of 300 acres at the Queens Industrial Park, 100 acres that are currently owned by Holcim, and 120 acres on Powell property that the Port of Queens can use. That was put into the application that you signed in December 2023, which makes about, if you leave out the Port of Queens, you're talking about 520 acres of land. And of that, a lot of it is zoned industrial, but not all of it. When the wind power project was proposed in December 2023, it crossed Port of Queens property, Holcim property, and Powell property, some of which was residential land. So my question is, the industries that will be capable of using this power, will they start to want to be established on residential land and agricultural land and along the river, which does not need more industrial development, nor do local people who live on that area need more local manufacturing development?
It's not zoned for industrial uses.
It's not zoned for industrial uses.
What we're talking about here is just the industrial property that is within the Port of Queens as we know it today. And that's it. If the town decided they wanted to expand their industrial property, that's up to them. But right now, what we're talking about, Barbara, is
no, I accept that. I accept that. You're talking about the Port of Queens. But you're building a facility to support more manufacturing. So where will that manufacturing go? First of all, there are, just a moment, there are existing businesses at the Port of Queens. Where are they going to go? Where will the shipping go if the manufacturing is there? The industrial park is built out. Have you looked at the overhead maps? Because I printed some out for you in case you don't know what it looks like.
I mean, honestly, Ms. Heinzen, those questions are more for the town board and the town planning.
Well,
and
that's
zoning
why
board.
I'm raising it in front of the town board, because this is a
But you're
long-term.
directing your question at Mr. O'Connor.
Well, I know, but
If you
he's,
have
he,
comments, they really should be directed.
well,
to the
I'll
town
direct it
board.
at the town board. But the proposal came from Mr. O'Connor. That's why I'm directing it at him. He's proposing that we put in a very large electricity substation to support manufacturing. And in that area, everything is built out, and there's no place for the manufacturing to go without removing existing businesses or invading residential and agricultural land. Is that what the town is supporting? Because we don't know what this electricity substation is going to be supplying electricity to. I assume there's been a seeker done on the substation. But what about the consequences of the substation? The consequences of the substation are, as Mike Stott rightfully points out, that's what we have to live with. And how do you judge the consequences when we don't even know what manufacturing is going to be supported by all this electricity? I think it is a bigger question than you are allowing. And I admire your tenacity, and I completely endorse the need for more renewable energy. But do we have the room for it in that location? What are we planning to do with that power? How do we see that evolving over the next, presumably it takes at least 5 years to build. So in 5 years' time, where will the manufacturing go? What will the electricity be serving? And what will be the consequences on our traffic, on our pollution, on our air pollution, our water pollution? What would be the consequences for the river? We're opposite a state park. We have sturgeon breeding in the river here. We have a number of protected species in our creeks along the river. We have an obligation to more than one business. We have an obligation to all the residents and to the environmental health of this place. So I think we need more time to think about this, and I would like to see not a hasty decision. Steve, I respect your point that it's taken a long time, but this is the first time a lot of people in town even knew this was possible. We need to have more discussion amongst people who live here. Is this what we want? How do we imagine where it will go? How does it fit in with the way we see the future of the town? So that's really all I have to say. I'm just saying this is a bigger question than just one substation on a few acres at the Port of Queens. It's a bigger question, and I urge you to take your time in thinking about what it means for the long term and for the people who live here. Thank you.
I just want to say one thing, and I am really nervous about saying it, but I would just like to mention real estate values. And I think many people in this room probably own their own houses or in the process of owning their own houses. And I live across the river, and I bought a house 20 years ago for $75,000, which is now worth 100% more, because I live on the river, because Columbia County is mostly nature preserve and scenic Hudson and establishments that are small businesses, and there is no industrialization, and it goes all the way down to Poughkeepsie. That kind of increase in real estate values has to do not with manufacturing, but with environmental concern. You could actually ride a horse from one of the nature conservancies near me all the way into the town of Hudson, which is also booming with small businesses, cultural events, and has a huge growing population of all sorts of people, not just the 212ers. I'd like to just have everybody consider that bringing more industry to this north end of the Hudson River, which is touted for its beauty historically as well as presently. If you followed Lewis Pugh's swim down the river last summer, you'll know the attention that got, and that everybody south of the Rensselaer County line is completely blind to anything but scenic Hudson. They're not looking for, and the march north from, when I first bought my house in Schodack Landing, people laughed, oh yeah, you know, you got a house on the river, but look where it is. Well, the houses on the river have increased in value all the way up from Hudson to Stottville to Stuyvesant to Schodack Landing to Castleton and beyond. That to me, because that's the largest investment I've ever made, and the fact that it's increased so much, actually, the port decreases the value of my house. I won't get into my personal situation about that, but I just want everyone to consider real estate values and industry. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you state your name?
Lora Lee Ross, ROSS.
Where are you from?
I live on the Columbia County Rensselaer line, literally, which goes right through Schodack Island State Park, and at one point in history, it was called 4 Points, because the 4 counties all come together at that point in the river.
So you don't own property in the town of Queens?
No,
Okay.
but I'm really affected by the Port of Queens.
Okay.
I'm affected by the noise, I'm affected by the lights, I'm affected by the air pollution, I'm at the same height. I look out my bathroom window to the white things that are part of the wind turbines, and I literally had to board up the entire north side of my house because the lights from the port are so bright that it ruined the, I just look south now, I just look south.
So I was just gonna say, Mr. Supervisor,